If you're considering moving to San Antonio, Texas, then there's probably a really good chance that you've also looked into moving to Houston, Texas. These are two amazing cities, but they're two very different cities. Very, very different. Different in so many ways, but also so similar.
So we did a video on San Antonio versus Austin, and I feel like San Antonio and Austin just couldn't be any more different.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot more similarities between Houston and San Antonio, but there are still a ton of differences. And I think, yeah, I really think that we should talk about it.
I think it's smart, and I think that they're both great cities. Let's preface this whole video by saying they're both incredible choices, great cities. If you're moving to Texas from any other state, that's probably the best decision you'll ever make. Sorry, but truth is the truth. That being said, let's talk about some of the facts and some of the differences between San Antonio and Houston.
Well, the biggest difference is going to be population.
Yes.
Houston is the 3rd largest city in the country. San Antonio is the 7th largest city in the country. There is a pretty big difference in population.
So San Antonio has a population of about 1.45 million or so, and this is based on the census of 2020. So it could have grown a little bit over the last few years, especially with COVID. I wouldn't doubt that both have grown a little bit.
Definitely have.
That said, San Antonio's population is 1.45 million. Houston is a little bit bigger at about 2.3 million, just a tad under 2.3 million people. Now, that's a pretty significant difference, right? That's like 800,000 people. That's almost a whole additional city added into there. Now, one area where I do think that this kind of plays into a factor is the amount of people per square mile, because the space differs, right? Because if you have 100 people in a very small room, or if you have 100 people in an entire building, that's gonna make a difference as to how big it actually feels and how crowded things actually feel.
And that's one of the similarities between San Antonio and Houston, is they are both very spread out. Both metro areas of those cities are massive. And so, you know, Houston has a much larger downtown area. I mean, people live all the way as far north as Tomball, Texas, or the Woodlands, and they still a lot of times will say they're from Houston. And it's very similar here in San Antonio. You can live out in Castroville, or you can live, you know, almost as far west as Bernie, but a lot of times you will use San Antonio as your city of where you live, because that's just the draw. So
absolutely. So let's talk about some numbers. San Antonio is spread out over the course of about 505 square miles or so, which is pretty big. But if you take a look at Houston, this beats San Antonio by about 140 miles. Houston's square mileage is about 640 square miles. So if you take that extra 800,000 people or so and push it into that extra space that Houston has, I'd say it probably comes out to pretty even, right? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, but the thing about Houston is it feels more congested. Like, as you're driving, as you start to enter into Houston, you are immediately met by just a massive highway system.
Yeah.
You have toll roads galore, and it just feels
confusing.
Like it feels like there's a lot more people. It feels like it's a lot more congested. I mean, as you start getting out towards even Cypress, which is on the outskirts of Houston, you can't even tell the difference. I mean, it just feels like it all blends together. So I feel like it's just a lot more people.
I would tend to agree with you. You know, numbers are one thing, but actually getting there and feeling it, it can be something completely different.
Now, another one of the similarities between Houston and San Antonio is the average age of the population. Both are right at 33 years old.
Yeah, which is interesting because, you know, if you look at our Austin video, there's a pretty big difference because San Antonio is 33 years old. Austin, the average age was 29. So a lot younger of a population. I think there's a lot more similarities of Houston and San Antonio than there is with Austin and San Antonio, despite them being a lot closer.
And here's another one that people might be surprised at. And although Houston is known for its horrific traffic, commute times are pretty much the same.
Yeah.
26 minutes.
And see, I have a hard time believing that.
I do too, because, you know, we go to Houston. I lived in Houston for a long time, or I lived up in Tomball, and I don't know if anybody would agree with that.
No, man.
There sucks.
Dude, every time that I've had to go into Houston or drive through Houston, I have been stuck in traffic at least twice during the same commute. So that's what the numbers say. Does it feel like that? No. Do I believe that? We'll see.
So if you're looking at a map of San Antonio, Houston is going to be east of San Antonio, maybe 2 or 3 hours. Now, if you've visited Texas and you decided, hey, I don't like either one of these cities, then there is a great city that's in between. That's called Buc-ee's. And Buc-ee's, right?
Yes, Buc-ee's, man.
Everybody loves Buc-ee's, so you can just head there.
They've got everything that you need. They have food, they have gas, they have entertainment, and they have a giant bronze beaver out front. So do you really need anything else in life?
All right, guys, on a serious note, let's talk about the things that are really the deciding factors for people who are considering moving from San Antonio to Houston. Let's talk about housing.
Yeah, man. So before I knew about this, I would have thought that they were vastly different, surely just because of the feel of the city. But that being said, the average sold home price, and this is of this latest month that we're filming, we're towards the end of 2023 right now. Average sold price in San Antonio for a home right now is about $300,000. In Houston, that same statistic is about $310,000. So to be honest with you, it's not that different. Now, that could be due to supply and demand. Houston's months of inventory are sitting at about 3.09 months of inventory, and San Antonio does about 3.8. So there's less inventory available in Houston. However, the price difference between this and Houston isn't that much.
Another similarity is the cost of living. I would have thought the cost of living would be higher in Houston, but it really isn't.
And that being said, I think at one point it was, but it could be due to inflation, could be due to some other economic factors right now. But they're very similar. Right now, Houston is only about 2% more expensive than San Antonio. So for instance, if you make about $50,000 in Houston right now, you can maintain that same cost of living for $49,000 in San Antonio. So to be honest with you, they're not that different on that scale.
I don't really know what kind of quality of life you're gonna have making $49,000 a year. I mean, when you say that out loud with inflation and everything else, I don't care where you live in the country, $49,000 a year doesn't sound like a lot.
No, it's not. Now, that's just an example.
Right, yeah.
For instance, yeah, that's just an example. When we talk about this, we will discuss income. So the median household income in Houston is about $56,000. Here in San Antonio, it's about $55,000.
So it really isn't that much more than that $49,000 a year, but even $55,000 a year isn't a whole lot of money. Now, you know, cost of living, depending on where you're coming from, that still might be better if you're coming from, you know, another state. But
and let me add to that statistic too. These income numbers are talking about just the metro area of Houston. This is not including the outlying counties, you know, the rest of Harris County and other these little suburbs and cities. Same with San Antonio. We're not talking about Bernie. We're not talking about Bulverde. We're not talking about any of these areas. We're specifically talking about the San Antonio city, everything within these city limits of San Antonio and Houston. So these numbers could be skewed if you go a little bit further out, but that's where we're talking about today.
As you know, Texas has some huge economic drivers. People are moving here from all over the country, all over the world, because of the economy here in Texas. And there are some major players in both cities, Houston and San Antonio. What are a few of those?
So let's talk about here in San Antonio, where we're from. So we have employers such as USAA, Security Service, HEB, the greatest grocery store on the planet Earth. Not my opinion, that's a fact. RBFCU, we have Wells Fargo as well. There's a great amount of employers that are responsible for employing a really good amount of San Antonio.
And of course, we cannot forget about the military. Military City USA, that is our official nickname here in San Antonio, and that is a huge economic driver. But Houston has some major economic drivers as well.
Yep, absolutely. So Houston is known for a lot of their oil and their gas companies that are in there. So Houston is going to have companies such as ConocoPhillips, Cisco, Phillips 66, Halliburton, and ExxonMobil. And these are all really large employers who are responsible for the vast majority of the employment in Houston.
And many more than that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, obviously, we named a couple of these, but then you also have technology companies as well, such as Hewlett-Packard, which I didn't even realize was still around.
You didn't?
No, man. I didn't know any. Does anyone have HP computers anymore?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm all about the Apple, baby.
Yeah, no, me too. Oh, well, that's another video. Now, a lot of these factors are going to roll directly over into the unemployment rate. So this one was a little shocking to me. So San Antonio has an unemployment rate of about 4.3%, whereas Houston's is about 5.53%, which is a little bit higher than San Antonio's unemployment rate, which I didn't expect that one.
No?
No.
If you are looking to move to either one of these cities because you are either in education or you're a student looking to go to school, both cities have some great universities. Here in San Antonio, we have UTSA, we have University of Incarnate Word. We also have St. Mary's University.
And now that doesn't include the Alamo community colleges that encompass the rest of San Antonio. There's tons of them on all sides of town. So it's a pretty robust education system here in San Antonio, not to mention the UT Health Science Center. Huge hub for medical students all around. Houston also has a very robust education system as well. So you're gonna be looking at universities like, obviously University of Houston, which is a very large university. You're also gonna have Rice University, which is considered Ivy League, or at least borderline Ivy League. It's a very prestigious school. And then you're also going to have things like Texas Southern University as well. So overall, Houston has some great choices as well if you're a student and you're moving here to Texas.
All right, so now let's talk about what everybody loves to talk about. Let's talk about politics. So, okay, let's just give a few statistics on politics. Here in San Antonio, we are about 51.5% Democrat and about 47% Republican. What is it looking like there in Houston?
You know, believe it or not, it is almost dead even. Both Democrat and Republicans are right at 49% with a little bit of extra who vote independently or for another party. So very interesting. I haven't seen very many cities who are almost dead equal in their politics.
Now, this is a big deal for people, and people who are moving to Texas from a lot of Western states. I won't mention them, California. But they're moving here because a lot of times because of politics or because of policies in these states that they don't agree with, and they're wanting to come to a red state to get away from that. And although here in San Antonio there are more Democrats than Republicans, this still feels like a pretty conservative city to me in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of state policy that just a lot more conservative than other states.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you, even though, you know, again, we mentioned this whenever we were talking about traffic, right? Numbers say one thing, but whenever you actually get out into the communities and into the environment that the city is in, that's when you really can tell how things feel.
Now here in San Antonio, it is more of a, I believe, a city that is really conducive to raising a family.
Yes.
And I would really say that Houston is the same in a lot of ways. There are just so many little, in the outlying areas of Houston that are just suburban and great for families. Again, I lived in Tomball, Texas for a long time. My wife lived out in the woods. You know, you've got Cypress, you've got, even if you go out to Humble or Montgomery, I mean, these are areas that I think are just wonderful for raising families. And it's the same way here in San Antonio. Bernie,
New Braunfels, Bernie, New Braunfels, Castroville. You have a million different outlying suburbs outside of, yeah, absolutely, and towards the outskirts of San Antonio and actually within the San Antonio city limits.
Now, I will say, and I'm gonna get some hate for saying this.
Here we go.
But man, there is a lot of ghetto out in Houston. I mean, you might know this lady. Her name is Beyonce.
Hold. Time out. What? Man, that girl had more money than both of us combined, and we'll ever see in our life, bro.
She's still a little bit hood to me.
You know what? She's just hood enough.
You know,
I like that.
Yeah, that's true.
I like
that's
that.
True. But no, all jokes aside, both cities are great for families, and you can't go wrong with either one of them. All right, guys, let's talk about entertainment and nightlife. Now, I'm 44 years old. I have 4 kids. I don't go out a whole lot, and I don't spend a whole lot of time in Houston. So I can't really tell you a whole lot about the nightlife and culture in Houston, Texas, unfortunately. But with it being one of the largest cities in the country, you can expect that it's gonna have a pretty good nightlife. And I know for a fact there are some great restaurants in Houston, Texas. It is an international city, so you have a lot of diversity there, and you're gonna have a lot of different restaurants. Now, San Antonio is a great city as well, and we have some great restaurants here. We are known for having some great food here in San Antonio, but I will tell you, we are not known for our nightlife.
No, we're not. And we also discussed this whenever we talked about San Antonio versus Austin, because if I'm gonna be honest with you, Austin blows San Antonio out of the water when it comes to nightlife, clubs, and things like that, just at 6th Street alone. Now, here we do have the St. Mary's Strip, and we have a few other really nice clubs and bars downtown that are starting to catch up. San Antonio is a little bit behind the curve when it comes to this, and I will say, as time has gone on and things have become more progressive and not so stuck in time here in San Antonio, they have added to the nightlife, and there has been an increase in, I think, things to do for younger adults and young professionals and things outside of that.
But I think if you're visiting San Antonio, or even if you're moving here, you're a young adult, you're single, you like to go out, you like to enjoy yourself, you are gonna have a lot of fun. We still have the Pearl downtown, which is a great area. Again, we do have the St. Mary's Strip. We have places, you know, all over where you're gonna enjoy yourself in San Antonio. So that's not gonna be an issue for you.
Absolutely, and the same goes with the events here in San Antonio and Houston as well. So for instance, San Antonio and Houston both have some of the best rodeos that Texas has to offer. Now, I actually believe that the San Antonio rodeo is a little bit smaller than the Houston rodeo because I've heard nothing but positive things about that. So one thing that I will give Houston that I can't give San Antonio, and maybe it's because I haven't heard of one, but Houston has the world champion barbecue competition there. And now that being said, dude, San Antonio has some good barbecue spots. They really do. They have 2M over on the southeast side, which is ran by a member who used to work with Aaron Franklin. You've got Rudy's everywhere. You've got Smoke Shop. You've got a lot of good places.
Let's not forget the barbecue joint in Seguin that we learned about.
Oh yeah, the Burnt Bean.
The Burnt Bean.
That one,
apparently that's world famous.
Absolutely.
So
and
don't sleep on San Antonio barbecue.
And we're gonna claim that one because while it is in Seguin, you're still closer to San Antonio.
That's right.
Now, Houston though, I've heard nothing but good things about their food, right? So obviously we have this barbecue competition that I'm super jealous because I would love to go to a barbecue competition. But also one thing that they are known for is their Vietnamese food. They have apparently a world-renowned Vietnamese allocation of restaurants there, which, do you like pho? Pho?
No, I do not.
Really? Have you ever had it?
No, but I don't think I'm very interested. Hey, I'm stuck in my ways, man. I like.
You disappoint me.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You disappoint me. We'll bring you up to speed one day, dude.
All right, let's talk about sports. Now, both San Antonio and Houston have a NBA team, and that is pretty much it. Now, here in San Antonio, we do have a minor league baseball team. We don't, well, we actually do have a new football team. So we have a new XFL football team. But San Antonio, we love our sports here. We're huge followers of sports, but we don't have a lot of, major league teams.
That's correct. And it's very interesting that you mentioned that because while we do have the league is the XFL football league that is actually part of it's owned by Dwayne Johnson, correct?
That's right, yeah.
Okay, so we do have that. We also have UTSA, which is a university here that we mentioned. They have their football team. And over the last few years, that has grown significantly.
Yeah.
They have recently been utilizing the Alamo Dome, which used to be the home and used to host the San Antonio Spurs, but it's become so popular that they began to use that stadium and they've actually begun to fill it up quite a bit. We've been out there for tailgates. We've seen the crowd that it draws. Downtown's a mess when UTSA plays in that stadium, which is great for the economy, really great for entertainment, especially if you like that high quality football.
And they have talked about building a new stadium downtown, which is something that may or may not be in the plans. But both cities have great sports, a lot of fans, and so you're not gonna go wrong with entertainment in either one of them when it comes to sports.
Now Houston, like we said, they do have the Houston Rockets, their basketball team, but they're also going to have the Houston Texans, which is the football team, if you don't know, and they're also going to have the Houston Astros, which have seen a crazy increase in popularity. So if you really like baseball, you really like football, you really like basketball, and you want an option or a plethora of options for you to go to for sporting events, Houston might be the way to go for you as far as that goes, if that's the reason that you're moving to that city.
All right, guys, so which city are you considering moving to? Is it Houston or is it San Antonio? Leave a comment down below. We would love to know. We hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. We do post videos every single week and you do not want to miss them.
And guys, if you plan on moving to San Antonio and purchasing a home here within the next few weeks or the next few months, please don't hesitate to reach out. And if you're planning on moving to Houston within the next few weeks, the next few months, also don't hesitate to reach out. We have an amazing network of people that we work very closely with out in Houston, and we'll be happy to put you guys in touch with them. So guys, thank you so much for watching our stuff. We'll catch you in the next one.